Chatham. This is the August 2024 meeting of the Chatham Select Board. Please note, this meeting is being recorded and will be available shortly hereafter for scheduled and on-demand viewing on any smartphone or tablet device. If anyone else is recording the meeting, please notify the chair. Seeing no such notification, I'll proceed. Pursuant to Governor Healy's March 29, 2023 signing of the Acts of 2023, extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency, suspending certain provisions of the Open Meeting Law, General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20, until March 31, 2025, this meeting of the Chatham Select Board is being conducted in person and via remote participation. Every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings as provided for in the order. A reminder that persons who would like to listen to this meeting while in progress may do so by calling the phone number 1-508-945-4410, conference ID 203-386-491, #, or join the meeting online via Microsoft Teams through the link in the posted agenda. While this is a live broadcast and simulcast on Chatham TV, Xfinity Channel 1072, despite our best efforts, we may not be able to provide real-time access. We will post a record of this meeting on the town's website as soon as possible. First order of business is to establish a quorum. Mr. Nicastro.
Present.
Mr. Shell is present. Ms. Davis.
Present.
Mr. Dykens.
Present.
And Mr. Metters.
Present.
We have a quorum. This evening we have, we start with the minutes, and I note that our secretary, Kathy Lewis, is on vacation and will be taking the minutes from a recording when she returns from her vacation. We have one set of minutes, August 6th this evening. Item 2 is public announcements and agenda requests. Item 3 is committee, board, and commission update from the Traffic Safety Committee. Item 4 is public comments on the business agenda. The business agenda itself, item 5, includes considering the proclamation for Suicide Prevention and Action Month, considering the use of town property at Kate Gould Park during Chatham's first night on December 31, 2024, considering a license to enter and use real property at 129 Stephen Drive in Chatham, considering a draft special town meeting warrant for September 16, 2024, and appointments, one appointment committee, the Waterways Advisory Committee, and finally the town manager's monthly report, at the conclusion of which we will go into executive session to discuss strategy with respect to the collective bargaining. With that, I will invite a motion on the minutes of August 6.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Are there any comments? Dean, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have two. On page 9, in the final paragraph, right in the third line, at the end of that second sentence, which reads, "should be ownership period," I'd like to insert the following sentence. Division into 2 lots within current zoning was specifically suggested. Or you could strike specifically, just put also. Division into 2 lots within current zoning was also suggested. And then on page 14, you may have caught this, Mike.
I don't think so.
Under H, the motion at the bottom in the third line, there seems to be a stray phrase. That line begins, "property as requested with the date of the event being," and there's nothing following. And I think it's just extraneous. That's it.
Okay, I just had one suggestion on page 10. In the fourth paragraph, it begins with, it was asked what the RFP would produce. We're talking about two different RFP or kinds of RFPs, and I thought it would clarify if we added before RFP, feasibility study RFP would produce. And that's all I had on that. We have a motion and a second. Mr. Nacastro.
Aye.
Mr. Shell says aye. Ms. Davis.
Aye.
And Mr. Dykens.
Aye.
And Mr. Metters.
Aye.
And the minutes are approved as amended. Next item, public announcements and agenda requests. Dean, go ahead.
I just have one, and I'll address this to Jill. Maybe we don't have any kind of backlog here, but we quarterly approve executive session minutes. I know we did a whole bunch of them a while back. Could we just check? The plan was to, every quarter, to take a look at the list and get them moving. Thank you.
I just want to echo a request. I know that the Housing and Sustainability Director sent directly to the town manager requesting an item on our agenda on September 24th for presentation of the housing production plan in what is hoped the final draft to this board by Gloria McPherson and the consultants J.M. Goldson. And I'd like to echo that request for that date at which comments will be open to the board and the public. And then I believe Mr. Berman has a agenda request or something.
I do, sorry, fairly last minute. Greg Berman, Director of Natural Resources. Just an announcement that the dredge Merton, the Army Corps of Engineers, is planning to arrive on or about September 1st for about 12 or 13 days of dredging. They'll be working 2 12-hour shifts. The dredge is currently in New Jersey for an emergency project, then goes to another site in New Jersey, and then finally will move up to Chatham Stage Harbor. And, you know, this is the best information we have to date, but they have changed their schedule several times already.
Good news, yeah, thank you very much, Greg. Okay, anything else from the public, either online or in the house here? I don't see anybody online, do we? We don't have anybody, do we, Jill?
No.
Okay, moving on to the committee board commission update from the Traffic Safety Committee.
Good evening. You should have all received my memo dated August of '24, Traffic Safety Committee Activities and Accomplishments. My name is Joan Craig. I am the chair of the Traffic Safety Committee. I'd like to acknowledge a number of individuals who have participated in the Traffic Safety Committee meeting throughout the past years. Firstly, the committee members, and that includes Vice Chair David Morrison, Diane Rawlings, Ellen Marks Zion, alternate Jeff Gordon, who at the time when I wrote this was the alternate. It's my understanding you just approved him as a full-time member. Thank you. And a recent member who moved off Cape, Mark Hoffman. DPW Director and Liaison Rob Faley and his administrative assistant Pam Jones. Lastly, a very special recognition of Andy Goddard, Lieutenant Andy Goddard, who has retired. He has been our Chatham Police Department liaison over many years, and we wish him the very best in his next chapter. He will be missed. Some of the most frequent requests brought forward to the Traffic Safety Committee are speed reduction, stop signs, no parking signs, one-way signs, clear crosswalk signs. The Traffic Safety Committee frequently expresses concern over the abundance of signage throughout the town to a point where the signs are ignored. When necessary, the Traffic Safety Committee has requested the Chatham Police Department to contact the appropriate parties regarding speed or parking issues. For example, the school department regarding some buses on Stepping Stone, local landscaping companies, and Chatham Bars Inn. Regarding speed, throughout the Chatham Police Department radar system, The data received regarding the timeline of the system was set, the number of cars traveling on the particular roadway, and the breakdown of speed versus the posted speed limit have been helpful when assessing the issues and how to address the complaints. At speed, all the beach access roads have had the attention of the Traffic Safety Committee and you as a board from the residents of these areas. And again, the radar system has shown the percentage of speeding cars to be low. That said, we understand the frustration of the neighbors when these cars pose danger to pedestrians, bikers, and other drivers. Some of the offenders are neighbors, delivery trucks, and landscapers. Regarding stop signs, both the Chatham Police Department and the DPW have been responsive to our questions when looking at areas well-traveled, as well as areas within neighborhoods that pose a safety concern. Regarding no parking signs, as the Select Board is well aware, this is the most contentious issue that comes before our committee. It is the hope of the Traffic Safety Committee that the Parking Study Group will bring forward a number of suggestions that will improve the issue of parking in Chatham. Rob Faley and his Department of Public Works have been quick to address one-way street signage and painting clearly marked crosswalks and stop lines. He has been helpful when recommending such changes as the Bridge Street, Morris Island Road, Silver Leaf Road area, as well as School Street at Main Street. The intersection of Training Field Road and Old Comers Road has been on the Traffic Safety Committee agenda for many years, and Dave Morrison of our committee is to be commended for his persistence in seeing this project through. Rob Faley is also to be commended for overseeing a number of pending items that he inherited when hired, including this project. We are pleased to work in conjunction with the Bikeways Committee and the Golf Advisory Committee when they ask our help with traffic and safety issues. Over the past year, the Traffic Safety Committee has presented a number of recommendations to you, the Board of the Select Board, and we appreciate your support, your thoughtful questions and concerns that are raised prior to voting on these recommendations. Over the past year, the following are some of the items that the Traffic Safety Committee has been involved with. No parking on the north side of Barcliff Ave from Old Harbor Road to Hitching Post. This item will be readdressed by your committee over recommendations, once the recommendations from the Cape Cod Commission are presented. Stop signs and stop lines in the areas of Woodland, Forest Beach Road, and Forest Beach Extension. Stop sign on Morris Island Road, southbound at intersection with Little Beach and Windmill Lane. All-way stop signs at Riverview Drive and Chipping Stone Road. Stop sign at the intersection of Park Ave and Lakeview Ave. Stop sign change from yield sign on Joshua Jethro Road at Riverview. Do not enter sign at Hallett Lane, intersection with School Street. No parking Seaview Street from Main Street to Shore Road except at CBI loading zone. And a 4-foot passing sign throughout town for vulnerable road users law. And as an aside, that is on our agenda for this Thursday afternoon at the request of an individual in the community. Endorsement of the Traffic Safety Committee regarding the Bikeways Committee request for posted 15-mile-per-hour speed limit on Old Colony Rail Trail in Chatham. So you see, we've been busy since I wrote this up. We've had a number of other issues that will be coming before your board. They have been forwarded by Andy Goddard to your secretary, your administrative assistant. So we'll be back with more information. I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Joan. I don't have a question. I just wanted to say I commend you and your committee under your leadership for your action and activity over these past several years. I think we can all remember when the committee was basically moribund for several years, and we had lost members, people had left the state and so forth. So it's a very vigorous and involved committee, and I very much appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I echo those comments. You do a great job, Joan, as chair, and your committee, I think, I liken it to the Bikeways Committee because you both are really focused, you get results, and you get a lot of stuff done. So, and you work well together, along with the Golf Advisory Committee. We'd like to report that the The no parking on Seaview Street has worked out really well.
That's good to hear.
It's worked out really well. Everybody's very pleased with it. And I think we have pay some attention to crosswalk markings, et cetera, and repaintings, et cetera. I know there's been some demand for that, some requests for that in the near past. But anyway, you guys do a great job. Really appreciate your effort, and you yield great results here in town. So
Thank you very much.
And also your participation in the parking study. I really do appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you.
Shereen?
Thank you. Thank you for all your work and the committee's work, and really appreciate it. I am the liaison. I don't get to the meetings with this committee because of work, but I do read the minutes and review reports. I do want to say that one of the things that, I think the Training Field Road issue is probably, there's so much traffic coming in and out of Chatham, and at times Old Queen Anne and Training Field can just be, a very dangerous place to traverse if, by car, but also if you're a pedestrian or a biking person, which there's a lot of that going on this time of year. The abundance of sign issue and people ignoring that, do you feel that it's because the inconsistency of signage or design, or what do you feel is one of the leading issues that we should be thinking about, or your committee's thinking about?
Well, I think also the parking study group is looking at more consistency in signs. I think people get so used to seeing a sign that eventually they ignore it. I think others would feel the same way. There are some of the newer "your speed is" type of signs that are fairly reasonable, that we feel people are more in tune to then look at their speedometer and slow down. I know Dave Morrison lives on, I believe it is Old Comers, and he's up and down that road all the time, has seen quite a difference in the speed. The other issue there too with that area is we feel that a lot of your heavy truck traffic is going that way because they're not utilizing the roundabouts at George Ryder and at Harding's, or Barn Hill. So that traffic's heavier. So I think those speed reminders have been very, very helpful. I know Rob has talked about it at our meetings, and I don't know if he's talked about it publicly too, but I know he is looking also at more consistent signage, and I know it was brought up by the Cape Cod Commission at the meeting that we had. So.
Yes.
And another example is the beach roads, and some of the individuals are taking it upon themselves to do signage, which is very, very inconsistent. Some of it is too wordy, in my opinion. Some are placed on poles that it's probably illegal, but they're very noticeable. So if that's going to slow down traffic, I can understand why they're doing that. It's a difficult thing. We understand completely, and all it takes is one person speeding for the neighborhood to get very upset. But the other issue that we're seeing, and I think it's going to be brought up at our meeting on Thursday, is that our pedestrians and those with carriages and beachwear have to also realize that if there isn't a walkway, you've got to be careful, and you can't walk three abreast going down to the beach on a curve. So I know that's going to be brought up at our meeting too.
Thank you, and thank you for your good work.
Thank you so much.
Corey?
I'm going to keep it simple. I want to reiterate everything that was said here. I thank you very much for your service and
Thank you.
the volunteers on the committee. I know the committee's past membership very well. They've done a great job, but you guys have been very active in the last couple of years in bringing items forward for consideration, and I appreciate the efforts.
Thank you so much. My husband's going to think I have a big head. Going home with a smile. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, I have one comment and one question. I'll start with a comment. I've noticed the effect on traffic of the 4-foot passing signs for vulnerable pedestrians. And what I've seen, which is just anecdotal, it's not in any way indicative of what all is going on, but first of all, people do tend to pull out, and second of all, because it generally puts them potentially in the lane of oncoming traffic, they tend to slow down. And so I think that's a very beneficial thing. And I know there were kind of, or at least I had the impression there were a limited number of those signs in the early going. I think they, to the extent there are more that get added, that could have a very beneficial effect. My question, and I kind of gleaned a little bit from the comments from my colleagues, by the way, I endorse all of those comments. I think Traffic Safety Committee is doing a great job and addressing a number of difficult issues. It is the issue at Training Field and Old Comers mainly speed and amount of traffic? Is that essentially what the issue is, or is there more to it?
That was it.
Yeah, okay.
Speed and traffic,
Okay.
and an increase in traffic since we had the changeover on Route 28.
Okay, okay. And if you indicated you might be going to say something about the 4-foot passage comment, but if not,
That will be
Thank
coming
you.
before our committee on Thursday at,
Okay.
our meeting starts at 4.
good.
So
Okay.
that'll be discussed again.
Yeah, go ahead.
One quickie,
Jeff.
Mr. Chairman. Joni, I just want you to know, I've requested a relook at our sidewalk plan here in town. So I think it's very important to marry with your work along with what the town's planning for sidewalks
That's
as we
good
go
to hear,
forward.
too.
It negates the need, for the 3 abreast going around a corner, going to the beach. There are areas in the town that really are very dangerous, very dangerous.
We would be in agreement with that, definitely. Thank you very much.
You bet.
Thank you very much. And pass it along with the committee as well, please. Next item is Chatham's recognition of September as Suicide Prevention and Action Month. And,
Public comments, Mike.
oh, forgive me, I'm getting ahead of myself. Yes, any public comments on the agenda? Thank you.
No hands raised online.
I don't see anybody. Okay, back to the first item on the agenda, National Suicide Prevention and Action Month proclamation. If I could ask the clerk to read the proclamation.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a proclamation that is made annually, and it's as follows. Town of Chatham National Suicide Prevention and Action Month Proclamation 2024. Whereas with September recognized as Suicide Prevention and Action Month, the Cape and Islands Suicide Prevention Coalition invites our communities, mental health advocates, prevention organizations, survivors, and allies to join us in helping to destigmatize mental health through initiative taken action towards suicide prevention. We seek to raise awareness and visibility of suicide prevention resources in our communities and help connect individuals with the appropriate services such as 988. And whereas, according to the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, AFSP, suicide is the second leading cause of death among individuals between the ages of 10 and 34, with more than 49,476 people dying by suicide annually in the United States. And whereas with an average of 132 suicide deaths daily, each one directly impacting 125 additional people, including friends, service members, families, social media connections, and neighbors, we know a sizable number of individuals have been impacted by suicide. Whereas Barnstable County suicide rate is 1.5 times higher, standing at 14.4 per 100,000 versus the state of Massachusetts rate of 9.4 per 100,000, we recognize the need to create hope through action locally. Whereas our local Cape and Islands Suicide Prevention Coalition works hard to spread the word about prevention, awareness, education, and action through training forums and events in our region. Whereas Chatham commits to being an active prevention partner with the Cape and Islands Suicide Prevention Coalition and publicly places its full support behind those who work in the field of suicide prevention and research, mental health, community health, education, and law enforcement who deal with this daily. whereas we encourage all residents to take time to understand mental health and suicide through education and recognize that we need to take care of our mental health while we take care of each other. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Chatham Select Board do hereby proclaim the month of September 2024 as a National Suicide Prevention and Action Month in the town of Chatham. And if I could, I would move to proclaim the month, as a motion, move to proclaim the month of September 2024 as National Suicide Prevention and Action Month in the town of Chatham, Massachusetts.
Second.
Any discussion, comments?
Just wanted to ask a question. Jill, do these proclamations get posted in the town offices? What happens to something like this once we adopt it?
I believe it goes on the town's website.
Okay.
And I'm not sure if it's posted in the town offices, but I can check tomorrow.
Okay.
And this calls for our signatures. I presume we can use
We're going to use your stamps, your signature
stamps.
stamps.
Yeah,
Yes.
thank you. With that, I will call the roll. Mr. Nacastro.
Aye.
Mr. Shell says aye. Ms. Davis.
Aye.
Mr. Dykens.
Aye.
And Mr. Metters.
Aye.
Thank you. Next case, consider the use of town property, first night installation at Kate Gould Park from the First Night Committee. Do we have Mr. Stuka, please? Oh, and Marie Williams, forgive me.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Traditionally, the chairman of First Night Chatham has appeared before this board in the autumn to request the use of town facilities for our event. And that will certainly take place again this year. So I will be back in a couple months with a general request. My understanding is that First Night Chatham has rarely used Kate Gould Park prior to the last 4 or 5 years during the pandemic era, where we were able to do a band concert one year out there. We used mini golf one year there. We had a small arts project with frames where people were allowed to take photos of themselves, family, whatever. So we've used it more in recent years. Given its central location and its access, we would like to do more at Kate Gould Park. And we have a subcommittee, part of First Night Chatham, that would really like to do an art installation at Kate Gould Park. And so they've been working on that for the last couple of years, discussing the possibilities. Marie Williams will come up. For those of you who might not know Marie, she was one of the founding members of First Night Chatham, and she's been involved with the committee for 34 years. So she has taken it upon herself and some select members to see what we could do at Kate Gould Park and maybe come up with an art installation that would be open to the general public at no charge and people might find entertaining as part of a festivity. So I'll let Marie explain what she's thinking of doing.
Thank you. I'm Marie Williams. I'm short. We have a little subcommittee, and I think what promoted all of this is that there's so much entertainment and performance art at First Night and very little visual art. We've tried in the past to do an art gallery by using the storefront windows with displays and stuff, and we've done some of that, but and we have the ice carving, and we've had the sand things, and they've been outside, but we just thought it would be fun. You'd think after 34 years I'd give this up, but we thought it would be fun to have some kind of visual art in the park. And we've been working on this in our minds, and we've had some committee meetings, and I've got a committee of about 15 people, and we have succeeded in involving several of the high school, or the Monomoy High School sculpture teacher, Jeremiah Nickerson, and also the art teacher at Cape Cod Tech, who's Jen Reed. And they've both agreed to do little parts of this for us, so we like the collaborative idea behind it. But lately, the last meeting I scheduled, it's like herding cats because I'm dealing with artists. When we first started First Night, everybody was excited and everybody came and everybody did stuff. Now the artists are going, oh, I can't make that meeting, and well, oh, I had to go back to work, I can't make that meeting, and so, and it's still only August, so there's still time for the. But I think from what I sent out something about what we were going to do, a tableau of people dining and what. I think we're going to skip the dining part. We're going to have the and maybe focus on the tree that's right in the front. And I don't know if any of you have paid attention to the trees in Cape Gould Park, but I've visited the park quite a few times. That first tree on the left is huge. It takes two people like this to reach around it. It's the trunk of that tree is giant. So we're going to maybe focus on that, and we have 32 little folding chairs that we're going to paint all the same color and try to do something funky with them. We've talked about building a tower. We've talked about tying them to the tree, and we might have these tape figures. The high school kids, is their first sculpture project. He has them work in teams making tape people, and if you've never seen those, they're life-size figures made out of packing tape. They're very bizarre looking. But I think he's going to have them make 6 or 8 of those, and we could put them in the chairs and the trees, or, you know, we can do some fun things. So that's basically where we are, and our ideas keep, you know, changing, and but we're going to focus on that. We have 1,000 CDs that we've painted silver and drilled, so we're going to maybe hang those on fishnet as a background. But a little bit of stuff in that part of the park instead of trying to use the whole park. That could change, and we'd let you know that later in the fall, but.
Sounds great, Shireen.
Well, Marie, thank you. I think installation art is one of the things that are the most exciting to see
Yeah.
the town do. The shark in the park stuff and all the things that have happened around some of the stuff that has gone on in Cape Gould, it's fun, and it's it's fun visually,
Yeah.
and it's free. And I understand, having owned an art gallery, how artists work, and you just, I think, have to be patient with
Nightmare.
the timing right now. It seems like this is an organic work in progress.
Yeah, definitely.
Which would probably be the funnest part of it.
Yeah.
I'd be happy to volunteer my time because I'm very excited to
I'm
hear
putting your
about this.
name on the list.
Yes, please do. I think it would be a lot of fun and a great distraction to some of the things I have going on. However, not to say that, but you are seeking approval for the use of the park, which
Well, yeah, it's
It's
almost
only-
like a heads up at this point, and when Paul comes later with
Yep.
more
I
specifics.
will be back probably in October with the formal request for the use of facilities, and all the facilities that we request will be outlined at that time. Really, this is more of a, as Marie said, a heads-up meeting to get your thoughts, the select board's thoughts about the use of the park for a form of installation art. And we thought it would add to first night, and
And we'll need to coordinate with the chamber, because they'll have it decorated for Christmas, and some of that might need to get moved or something. But if they have the tree in the back, that's fine, because we'll be up in the front, and,
Well, I'm very
but we have to work all that
I'm
out.
very supportive, so I'm just going to turn it over to, back to the chair.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Very supportive, sounds like a lot of fun. Go ahead, have fun.
Yeah.
Be creative. I think you're right about performance art, which is wonderful, but it's nice to have some visual art as
Yeah,
well. Sounds like you're gonna have a lot of fun doing it, Marie. so
Yeah,
Have fun.
we hope to, and we are, but it's been, stressful for me personally, because I feel like I've started something that isn't quite working yet, so I'm trying to make it doable.
And I'm tempted to say something glib about being married to an artist, but I'm not.
Oh, yeah.
Corey?
No, I was just going to say, thank you for coming in early and putting this, I'm supportive of this, but it gives some time to kind of flesh out some of the logistics that may or may not become issues ahead of time. So I appreciate the advance notice for this conversation, so thank you.
Dean?
Do we not, obviously, I'm very supportive. Do we not want to do a motion tonight? There's a motion.
I think we should.
Yeah,
The
I'll
staff memo
offer.
calls for one.
Yeah.
And I just put it on the record, we understand this is early warning to be continued, but let's put it on the record. And by the, I just want to say, I'm very supportive. You're making me nervous that I ought to be thinking about Christmas.
I know, I'm sorry.
We're given, a few other things between here and there, so, but it's great.
And if there's anyone watching this meeting, which we hope, and they are interested in getting involved, they can contact me.
Super.
Call Marie
Chair.
Williams. Okay, I'll
Should I
take a
move to
motion.
approve the use of town property at Cape Gould Park for a first night art installation as presented by the first night committee this evening?
Second.
Any further discussion? Mr. Metters.
Aye.
Mr. Dykens.
Aye.
Ms. Davis.
Aye.
Mr. Shell says aye, and Mr. Nacastro.
Aye.
Thank you.
thank
Thank
you.
you.
Looking forward to the next iteration.
Yeah. It could be completely different.
Next, we have a request to consider a license to enter and use real property at 129 Stevens Drive, Chatham, AKA Starbog Conservation Area, and I think Mr. Berman has the presentation.
Yes, and we just have one slide to be able to, show the location. Great. So this is a relatively, there we go. This is a relatively unusual conservation area. The kind of yellow highlight on that left image is the conservation area. The only access to it is via the road that goes through the property at 117. The property owner, Stephen King, his daughter is getting married, and that parking lot holds about 3, maybe 4 cars if they're parked appropriately. So part of his concern is, being able to use that parking lot to store furniture, tables, chairs, maybe cars for the wedding. But of also great concern is people visiting the conservation area would be driving right through that lane during his daughter's wedding. So he was really hoping to be able to license the use of that parking lot during his daughter's wedding, which would, restrict the number of cars that could flow and potentially disrupt the ceremony. We have a draft license to enter and use property, and just hearing from Mr. King this afternoon, he would like it adjusted to be from September 6th through September 7th, so actually including those 2 days. And then we would, change it for a 2-day period instead of a 1-day period. We didn't come up with the $2,000 number. This was him asking what could be done. We said we would, potentially bring this license to the select board, and he offered a donation of that amount, so that's what we included in the lease. But we would need a, motion to approve lease, allow town manager to sign if you so choose.
Dean?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Greg. I just, I had a question. I don't have a problem with this at all, but I wondered, so during the wedding, there still is the possibility of some traffic coming through? Is that,
So,
how's that gonna be handled, I guess?
yeah. So the parking lot only holds 3 or 4 cars. The theory is if it's full, there's no reason for traffic to flow down. He's going to have valets taking vehicles that are attending the wedding
Okay.
and posting somebody up near the entrance. This is all the road through private property. Where it becomes public property, he would have a valet telling them that the parking lot is full.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Did you want to add that comment, Jeff?
No, I am familiar with this piece of property. There is a gate that, at its entrance that can be open and shut, is open during the day for folks to go down there. Beautiful piece of property, great place for a wedding. I wouldn't be opposed to not having access for those 2 days. I mean, it's not that well used an area. Having driven down there and there's high grass growing and stuff, it's just not that well traveled. It's just not. It's very private. It's kind of, it's near the bogs down there. So I wouldn't be opposed to saying, hey, just shut it down for 2 days, and I'm good with that. And then he doesn't have to worry about a valet and stopping people halfway down, and it's just, anyway, I think it'd be a lot easier for him, that's all.
Corey?
Just to kind of follow up, I'm just getting uncomfortable that a valet would be an appropriate mechanism for handling it. There's no need to go to a level of a police detail or anything like that, so it's basically what I'm asking. I think, it's could be, because they're only talking a couple of spaces, so.
Correct,
It's relatively simply, monitored and directed in a simple manner.
Yeah, we feel valet is probably appropriate. I have been in touch with the chief of police, and we're just going to notify him if this is approved as to the process, but he's not planning on keeping a detail or anything there.
Fine.
I'm fine. It sounds fine to me. Do I hear a motion?
Move approval?
Second.
All those in favor, Mr. Nacastro?
Aye.
Mr. Shell says aye. Ms. Davis?
Aye.
Mr. Dykens?
Aye.
And Mr. Metters?
Aye.
And the motion passes. Thanks very much, Greg.
Thank you.
Next item is the town meeting, special town meeting article review, placement recommendations, and consider closing the warrant, which will be posted on or before August 30. Jill, do you want to walk us through that? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. So in your packet, you have the draft of the special town meeting warrant for September 16th. What's changed from your last meeting was that we've requested to designate Shellfish Constable Renee Gagne as the speaker, and then we've included a draft explanation that would be posted in the warrant. That was still in the works at the last time that we met. Town council has reviewed the article as well as the motion, so we're all set with that. And tonight, again, is just respectfully requesting that you review the warrant and also close the warrant so it could be posted on or before August 30th. I will say if we do get a citizen's petition before, like a day before or so, the constable goes out and posts the warrant, that state law requires us to put it on the warrant as long as it's reasonably received in a reasonable amount of time. So while you would close the warrant, if there were any petition articles coming in, and those petition articles for a special town meeting require 100 signatures of voters. So that is it. If you had a presentation at your last meeting, Greg Berman, our Director of Natural Resources, is here if you would like any more information or a presentation. But we think that everything in the warrant is a final draft and subject to your review and approval.
Any thoughts, Dean?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Jill. This is something that I've mentioned several times in the past. I think this is something that is in the system somewhere. It's a typo, I believe, on the motion and in the description of the motion that precedes it on page 3 of the proposed warrant. So I'll go to the motion, which is about halfway down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. On the 9th line, the word therefore, I think it's misspelled. I think there's no E at the end of it. Same thing is true up on the 5th line from the bottom of the paragraph that begins this article. It's right in the middle, the word therefore. I don't know whether this comes from bond counsel, whether it's in the financial systems, but I do believe it's incorrect. That's what I would propose. You can ask town council.
If I may, before you leave it, I'm going to agree with you. I think you're right. I'm also going to say you should strike the comma that precedes the word as well.
Yes, I agree. The other thing I wanted to say is, I assume there'll be a motion to place and a motion to recommend the article. When the board voted to call a special town meeting, I voted not to do that, and I gave my reasons. But I do support the project, and I think that the finances for it are good. I appreciate that the price has come down by $500,000, so I'm going to be supporting the placement and an affirmative recommendation on the article tonight. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Jeff?
That's great. There was one other change that was made. The phraseology in the bottom of page 4, that paragraph started with, in 2003 alone. The original language was the system generated over 1.7 million, and we've changed that to harvested landings.
Yes,
I think it's a very important nuance, to be honest with you. And I'm really glad you made that change. And I've suggested today elsewhere that we get some idea of what the increased capacity in the new upwell, or given a new upwell, what the increased capacity would generate in revenues, singular revenues for just the generation of new cohogs or additional incremental cohogs, but also what the generation of extra revenues are downstream. They would use a multiplier as well, so that there's an economic argument here as well as a historical argument, and an environmental argument, and other arguments, of public access argument, et cetera. But there is a fairly large economic argument as well that I think we need to do a really good job in making.
Thank you.
Yeah, unless anybody else has anything else, a couple of things. Let me get the small stuff out of the way. I would suggest just a clarifying amendment on page 4 at the top of the paragraph that begins 2 phases of the 2019 consensus plan remain. I think it would be a little clearer if we said remain to be completed. I'm going to invite comment from my colleagues with respect to, on page 5, the last sentence says, "These projects will likely be presented as individual articles in future ATMs." I thought it was very, it influenced my thinking, and I thought it was very useful that the staff memo indicated that there was anticipated that it wouldn't all come up in 2025. A piece of it might come up in 25, a piece of it in 26, a piece of it in 27. I wonder how folks would feel if we said in future ATMs in 2025, 26, and 27. I don't feel strongly about it, but that leverages off what I thought was a good point made in the staff memo.
Sure.
Shereen?
Yeah, or the language could just simply say, and I don't know if this, because we don't know if that's gonna happen, you know, I hope it happens, but maybe it's anticipated in future incremental annual town meetings, rather than giving a date specific. I don't know, I don't wanna muck up the works or anything, I'm fine with what you said, I just, you know, as an alternative to the language.
Well, to take that comment, you might say presented incrementally as individual
Yeah.
articles. That takes care of your point. Corey?
I guess I don't feel strongly one way or another, but when you say incrementally, what happens if we wanted to put 2 articles in 1 year? I think keeping it as slightly broader is more consistent with what we've done in the past. I don't feel strongly one way or another, to be honest with you, but I just don't want to put us in a corner, and have some flexibility to move these projects forward as staff and the board sees fit. So whatever keeps it cleaner is in my preference.
Let's leave it. Unless somebody objects, let's leave it as it is. With hat tip to Mr. Berman, in spite of my efforts. I want to say on the broader point here, first of all, Dean, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. I've frankly been stewing about what I might say in anticipation that you might take a different point of view. And to take Jeff's thought, this is something that has a tremendous benefit economically to the town. We have a goal and objective on the select board to improve the economics, the town economics. This, I think, is a really direct and immediate and likely to be very effective contribution to that effort. It addresses a constituency that's been around a long time and makes tremendous contributions locally, both from the entertainment point of view and from the commercial point of view. And I just think this is an opportunity for us to respond to what we heard from the town, but go forward with something that I think is almost exclusively beneficial and not all that expensive if you look at it in terms of what it costs on the tax rate annually, which is a very modest amount of money. So I'm very strongly in favor of it. I really do hope that the people who brought this forward to us will rally the troops and come out and vote overwhelmingly in favor of this. Sheree?
Yes, thanks, Mr. Chair. There was a meeting of the Shellfish Advisory Committee yesterday where they would like to thank the board for supporting the shellfish industry of the town of Chatham. As Jeff had said, this is about access, it's about economics, culture, and environment for the community. So and it's about feeding people. And that's one of the most important things that I see as part of this. We have a community where We have programs set up where people can just go the water, along the shoreline, and they can pick up food for themselves to eat. And that's something that we should be very appreciative that our town has that kind of, water system that supports that, and that we have programs that support that. It's generational. It's really, I think, this will be, once it's completed, if it's approved and completed, is going to be one of those finer moments for the town as far as a facility that has a lot of character and strength for all those things that I just mentioned previously. Thank you.
Thank you. Dean?
Thank you for your comments. I just wanted to say, for the record, so people don't think I'm caving on principle, that back in 2020 and 2021, I voted against calling a special town meeting on a project that doesn't need to be named. But once it was called, I voted to support the project because I believed in the project. So I'm being internally consistent. Thank you.
Nobody's going to charge you with inconsistency. Anything else? So I think we start with a motion to place the article. Is that correct?
Yes.
Motion to place, move to place.
Second.
All those in favor, Mr. Metters?
Aye.
Mr. Dykens?
Aye.
And Ms. Davis?
Aye.
Mr. Shell says aye, and Mr. Nacastro?
Aye.
And
Move to recommend.
Second.
Mr. Nacastro?
Aye.
Mr. Shell says aye. Ms. Davis?
Aye.
Mr. Dykens?
Aye.
And Mr. Metters?
Aye.
Okay, and then we need a motion to close the 2024 special town meeting warrant.
Vote to close the 2024 special town meeting, September 16th, 2024 warrant.
Second.
All those in favor, Mr. Metters?
Aye.
Mr. Dykens?
Aye.
Ms. Davis?
Aye.
Mr. Shell says aye, and Mr. Nacastro?
Aye.
And that takes care of that. Thank you.
So Chair, I'm sorry, just one more. So we typically, when we're doing the order of who's making the motion on the warrant, we start with the chair. So I just want to make sure that the board is okay with you as chair offering the motion.
I'm okay with the tradition. I privately offered that slot to Shireen if she'd like it, and I'll re-offer it, but I'm happy to do it myself.
I'm fine with the chair making the motion. I appreciate that.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Quick question, when does it go to the publisher?
It's going to be next week, but this isn't also mailed out to every residence. This is put up on our website and also at all the town buildings.
And post offices too?
But yes, definitely. The warrant will be posted in all the post offices,
Okay.
yes.
Yep, thank you.
Next item is committee appointments. We have one. I will move to appoint David Oppenheim as a member of the Waterways Advisory Committee until June 30, 2027, unless sooner revoked or a successor is appointed.
Second.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask a question by way of information?
Yes.
On the cover memo from the staff refers to Robert's rules in analysis of the motion that failed a couple of weeks ago. But I just wanted to point out that we're not subject to Robert's rule. The result is the same, but we don't have a parliamentary manual for the select board. We rely on tradition, custom, and practice. So I think the reference to Robert's rules is probably, am I not correct?
You are correct, and I think what she had intended to write is that we consulted with town council to verify
Right.
the status of the vote, but I will.
That's fine. I just think it's in an extraneous
Sure.
reference, that's all.
That's fine. That's fine. All right, we have a motion and a second.
Can I make one very, very minor?
Please.
Just for clarification, I'm happy with the process. It's presented, the motion is printed exactly how I think it's appropriate. But just for clarification, in the cover memo, there's a line that says, it was requested that the candidate be reconsidered for appointment by the board. It wasn't that the board had a deliberation. It was presented that the board should be presented with this opportunity to review it. And it's an opening, the motion is properly worded, and it's before the board in a proper manner. So it wasn't like the board had a previous deliberation following the last meeting. We have not had a discussion on this, is my point. So we've set this up properly.
And that's fine, and I think that just noted that we were not all five present.
Correct, and that's fine.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I just want to, Mr. Chair, I did reach out to Shauna this morning. I wanted to make sure that if this is an appointment versus a reappointment, I wanted to make sure there was no pending candidates for the position, and she reached out to two potential ones and did not hear back from them. One said no, and has not heard back from one, so, but I'm fine with going forth with the vote tonight.
I think we're all clear now. Mr. Metters.
Abstain.
Mr. Dykens.
Aye.
Ms. Davis.
Aye.
Mr. Shell says aye. Mr. Nacastro.
No.
Motion carries. Thank you. Town managers report.
Thank you. I'm doing double duty tonight, taking notes. Thank you, Mr. Chair. In your packet, you had the monthly report for July, as well as some current items. And as we normally do, we recognize the years of service for our employees and for September, which is our next month. And noting that Sergeant Glover, who have been here 43 years, I think he is now the longest serving employee on record, and we really appreciate his service to the town. And then Kevin Moore, firefighter, 30 years. Our Deputy Police Chief, Lou Malzone, 18 years. And then it gets into some of the employees who I have hired, including Joe Amara, Diane Byers, Connor Brickley, Kristen Taylor, and Anna Milon. And then also we wanted to introduce our new regional municipal energy coordinator, Kim Grant. She's an employee that we share with the Kate Light Compact, and it's the towns of Chatham, Brewster, and Orleans. And so we have Kim in her office. She's located in the DPW office next to Terry, and we have her 1 day a week on Mondays. And has a whole list of items that she's working on, but I think the first one's going to be on the electric vehicles database, as well as the policy and charging. So again, 1 day a week we have her, and she's at the Cape Light Compact for 2 days a week. And then I also wanted to, was there any
I
questions on
just
that?
want to say that's a lot of tasks for a 1 day a week person.
Yes, yes, so she's prioritizing them as well, yes.
I highlighted, I said, oh my goodness,
Yes.
it's part-time? Anyway, she's gonna be
Yes.
busy.
She's very busy and already got started. So thank you on that. And then our promotions for our police sergeant, Sarah Harris, is going to be promoted to lieutenant with the retirement of Andy Goddard. And then Officer Chris Merrigan is going to be promoted to sergeant. So you received already the prior notice, but we wanted the public to have a little background on who both Sarah and Chris are. And so very distinguished careers and length of service with the town to be noted. I just mentioned Andy Goddard. We just had his last coffee this week, which was really great to have a lot of people show up to give their thanks to him. And then the week before, we recognized Michelle Clark. She was the Projects and Operations Assistant most recently, but the longtime serving office manager for community development. So she retired last week. Recruitments, as we know, they're posted online. Other items that are non-personnel related. I have a joke, we're empty nesters at Harding's Beach. The birds have fledged, and we started our regular raking schedule on August 15th. And then I have a recap here of the 78th Summer Residents Town Meeting. That was last week with the access to the link, as well as the position papers that were presented. I also noticed, just for the public's review of the special town meeting for September 16th, we will have daycare available, or childcare available for kids 3 and up, as well as transportation provided by the Center for Active Living. So there is information in here about how to sign up for that. And just to note, anyone who has not registered to vote or is new to Chatham, any unregistered voters wishing to attend the September 16th meeting have until September 6th to register to vote. So again, if you're already registered, you don't have to re-register. It's just for people who have not registered to vote and have not voted in Chatham. And then as you see here, we have some, our must-see TV. We have our first Youth Academy. There's a YouTube video, and checking out the town's YouTube station. There's a lot of really interesting videos. This also has some of our hits on our social media website. Still, the main sheet is doing really well with almost little more than 1,500 subscribers. So I was actually on a walk, and I was walking by one of the dining establishments, and someone yelled at me, like, "Hey, Jill, we love your main sheet." So that was kind of fun. Someone I didn't expect it who had subscribed, so that was really fun to hear. And then, as you'll see too, you have the department reports for the month of July, looking back, very comprehensive. I know the board really likes this report, but I'm happy to answer any questions if you have. Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah, please.
Thanks, Jill. Always a good report. On the Harding's Beach bird fledging, that's really great news. But what I wanted to ask is, while you're doing the raking of the beaches, is DPW monitoring for any turbine debris at all?
They have been, and I know there's, I think it's Vineyard Wind. They have contracted with Robert B. Auer, and so I know that there's been people on the beach. So again, most people are either notifying Amy, Hal, or Jason, our harbor master, and we've asked people not to touch it. And so there's been a pretty quick response by the contractor to pick them up. So I have to look back at my over the weekend reports. I don't recall if there was anything, but let me get back to you on that.
Thank you.
Just a question that's prompted by the report on the summer residence town meeting. They expressed a desire to come in front of the select board on the subject of grinder pumps, and I just looked at the future items. I didn't see it there. Is there a mechanism for accommodating that, or how? And I know the Water and Sewer Advisory Committee is still deliberating, but I just want to ask what the process is for coordinating those two.
So I think first that the board should receive the recommendations from the Water and Sewer Advisory Committee. I know that the summer residents had various representatives at this meeting. I think was it Monday, the Water and Sewer Advisory Committee meeting? Yes, thank you. So once the board schedules it, then we'll certainly notify the summer residents. They can, I think there's 3 people who've been working exclusively on it, and if they're not able to be here in person, they can participate remotely.
Okay, thank you. Anything else?
Yeah, just a comment. Looks like Diane Ash is settling in nicely as the adult behavioral health counselor. She's been
Yes.
busy, and she hasn't been here that long. I also thought it was really cool to see where the referrals were coming from to her and how our police department was active, and very active. So that's good synergy. It's good working together.
Yes.
Good. Okay, I think the next step here is a motion to go to executive session. Would you? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move that the Select Board go into executive session under Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 38, Section 21, Number 3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining, parenthesis, Chatham Municipal Employee Association, close parenthesis, and that the chair declares that an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining position of the body with no return to open session.
Thank you.
Second?
All those in favor, Mr. Nacastro?
Aye.
Mr. Shell says aye. Ms. Davis?
Aye.
Mr. Dykens?
Aye.
And Mr. Metters?
Aye.
Thank you. We are now in executive session.